Hey dudes, today I want to talk about how to use an EQ to take your audio clip and make it sound like a phone and a TV. So let's check it out. I got a couple recordings here, so we'll just preview it real quick. Can you believe it? It's just unbelievable to me. I mean, when I heard the news, I just had to call you. Anyways, when you get this message, just call me back, okay? Sounds pretty important. But it doesn't really sound like a voicemail that's, coming out of a phone speaker or earbuds or something like that. So let's change that. Let's put a little EQ on it and spice things up. So here we are, inserts, dialogue 1. If you're not seeing that, just make sure that you click on this little menu here and select your inserts. If you are seeing that, all you need to do is click in this space here, plug in EQ, and for now I'm going to use EQ3 7-band, which is the stock EQ that comes with Pro Tools, and here it is. So let's talk about EQ just for a little bit so that we understand it. EQ, or equalizer, is referring to all of the frequencies that we can hear as humans, and by using this equalizer we can adjust or change or remove frequencies to basically change the color or style of the sound that we're hearing. So if we're looking at this EQ, let's just sort of define it real quick. This area over here represents the low bass frequencies. This area in the middle is the mid frequencies, as you might have guessed. And moving right along into this area is the high frequencies. This 7-band plugin is split up between high pass filter, low pass filter, low frequencies, low mid frequencies, mid frequencies, high mid frequencies, and high frequencies. Cool. So now that we know all that, what do we do? Well, the good news with the telephone effect that we're going to do is that there's a pretty nice preset that you can start out with, and that'll get us going in the right direction. So I'm going to go up to presets. I'm going to go up to special effects, and I'm going to go to cell phone. And you'll notice now that this window here has changed. How do we describe what happened? Well, there's a high pass filter that was removing all of the low frequencies below 866.2 hertz. Low pass at 2.95 kilohertz. So that's this line here. If I take that out, now with both of these engaged, it's rolling off or removing all of this gray area and all of this gray area, and it's only allowing for this area to go through. The last thing that happened on this preset is that the mid filters were boosted at about 2.44 kilohertz and at 10.6 dB in terms of the gain. So let's just listen.
Can you believe it? It's just unbelievable to me. I mean, when I heard the news, I just had to call you. Anyways, when you get this message, just call me back, okay?
I will, buddy. I won't leave you hanging. So if we were just to do this from scratch, factory default, we would go in high pass, in low pass. Adjust the Q or the slope to as strong as we can by clicking and dragging up on these knobs. Moving that in, moving that in. And you can also just grab this, for example. Any of them, all fluid, all adjustable. You can also hold Option and click to reset anything back to nominal. And this is not perfect. I'm just totally eyeballing it, but let's hit play again.
Can you believe it? It's just unbelievable to me. I mean, when I heard the news, I just had to call you. Anyways, when you get this message, just call me back, okay?
Okay, before we move on, I just want to note that anything on this track now will sound like our cell phone.
Tonight's matchup.
So even my second clip is going to sound like that. So if you're doing it this way, yes, it's going to work. It's going to sound good. but you might have to have a dedicated track just for this effect. So we might have dx1.phone, for example. And then we can make a new mono audio track called dx.tv, for example. And I can change my color. I don't need an input. Output to stereo output. Looking good. And I can just bring this into this track, hit play. Tonight's matchup. Back to the high quality original recording. So let's close this EQ and let's introduce another EQ on dx.tv. And let's do this one from scratch. So it's going to be very similar to the phone, but there's going to be one major difference. So I want to have my high pass filter in and my low pass filter in at sharp slopes. Move that in like that, something like this. Now for TV, I personally like a little bit more of a mid-range bump as opposed to the real high frequency bump that we did for the phone. So let's just check it out. Tonight's matchup, team number 1 versus team number 2. So don't go anywhere, because if you do, you'll miss some great action. Yeah, I definitely don't want to miss the action, so I'm going to tune in for sure. So the reason why I like to do it this way is, well, it sounds different than the phone. If you had the same effect for both of them, then of course that would be no bueno. But another reason why I like to do it is if you have dialogue happening in your movie television program that you want to have inside of your film, I like to boost it over here so it'll stay out of the way of the crisp, clean dialogue that we recorded on set. So I'm basically using my EQ to have something here and something over here, and then they're not getting in the way of each other. As well as creatively, I just want it to sound a little bit different than the telephone effect. So, got your TV? Tonight's matchup, team number 1 versus team number 2. Got your phone.
Can you believe it? It's just unbelievable to me. I mean, when I heard the news, I just had...
So there it is. You can use EQ, of course, for lots of other things, and I'm sure we'll dive into it a little bit more, but these are 2 quick things that you can do to get the desired effect of a TV or a phone, and you learned a little bit about how to use an equalizer. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next one.